Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Collectors community. I'm your host, Nico, and joined with me today, as always, is my co-host, Chris. How you doing, man?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
Good, good. Trying to avoid the rain here. It looks like it's about to start pouring out there and ready to talk some comics. So,
Good.
yeah, I hope you guys are all ready to hear what we got to say about this week's batches of stuff that we've read. And as always, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel here at Late Night Collectors Community. This is our weekly comic book review show where me and Chris kind of break down the books that we've read every week. And we give you our thoughts and reviews on them, give you a rating on each book. And then we also show off some of the art. And sometimes we got to get into some comic book news and stuff, things that are kind of happening, within the world of comics. This week, we're going to be talking about the new comics that came out for the week of June 14th, 2023. And as I mentioned, yeah, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, that thumbs up, hit the notification bell to be notified of when these videos go out live every week. And be forewarned, spoiler warning, guys, we are going to be talking about what happens in a lot of these books in order to properly review them. Sometimes we, mention big spoilers that happen in the books. You can always read your books, then come back. All of our shows end up in a playlist here on the channel every time they're released. So, if you're behind, you can always go and catch up, hear what we had to say about different stuff. But yeah, or just take your chances. All right, Chris.
All right. Cheers, everyone, and let's talk comics.
Cheers.
All right, you got a drink there, Enix?
Yeah. It is unfortunately a White Claw, but it's something. Hold on, a blackberry White Claw. Watch out.
Hey, better than your hotel water last week.
Right. I knew that's why you mentioned that. Yes, guys, I'm back. I'm back on solid ground here. I'm no longer in Sudbury in a hotel room recording, so I'm happy to be back in the studio. So yeah, let's talk about some comics here. All right, Chris. First up on the docket here today, we got Captain Marvel 50. I read this one online. You jumped back in for the last issue there.
It's a last issue scam, personally, but well, they got the Dark Tempest coming out, right? Even at the end of this one, they're not saying it's over. It's like,
Yeah.
I think the Captain Marvel Dark Tempest is still part of the legacy numbering.
Yeah. Well,
But
this is, I guess, the culmination of a 50-issue run of Kelly Thompson's on the Captain Marvel book. I know Chris read it for a good long while and talked about it here on the show. I have also been reading this book in trades. I even got the volume 1 of the omnibus, actually. Hold on. Just came out a couple weeks ago. So there's going to be a volume 2 collecting the rest of the run. So I actually bought the omnibus hardcover of Kelly Thompson's Captain Marvel run. That's how much I enjoyed her run. I think the second volume is going to collect whatever the remaining issue is.
yeah, you might want to pass on the second one, but
yeah, the back half I feel like wasn't as strong as the front half. I will say that as well. I know that's why you ended up dropping off the book, right? But go ahead. What did you think of this, Chris?
yeah, this kind of tied up some of the ends that I might have missed. When Captain Marvel was fighting the Brood, his Binary's dead, and Captain Marvel sort of dealing with the grief and the guilt of what happened there. And I think Jessica Drew or Spider Woman tries to throw a party for her, or everybody's trying to cheer her up or kind of get her out of the funk there. So it wasn't a bad story. The art, I think they had two artists going on this because sometimes it seemed really like I thought the beginning of the issue looked good and I was really impressed with things, but as the issue went on, I thought that the quality of the art sort of dropped off a little bit. And these are some big, a big splash scene there or a splash page. It looks like a lot of detail. You got a lot of people around in there, so I thought that was great. And otherwise, it's kind of like just Captain Marvel trying to find herself. That seems to be a theme this week, is everybody's trying to find themselves here. I think what's that? Lori, the Ronan the Accuser's daughter, sister, relative. I don't know. She takes her to some, I don't know, some war torn planet just to fight it out. I think Jessica Drew or Spider Woman here grabs her and takes her to, yes, Doctor Strange. That was a nice cameo by him. And I think he sends her to this white room where it was part of the trials, and she tries to find herself there. And just a whole bunch of other stuff. They have Miss Marvel in there. That was interesting to see. It must be, I guess, pre Spider-Man 26 or something.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, yeah, it was a bit of a whole story. It's like, it wasn't really a cap off to the end of the series, and like I said, they're already teasing the beginning of the series, so it felt like, this Dark Tempest could have been just 51, and you could have had this go to 56 or whatever. But I'd give it a 3.5. With some nice art in there.
Yeah, I ended up reading this as well. I thought it was all right. I mean, like I said, I pretty much I really enjoyed this run of Kelly Thompson's. I had never really read a long run of Captain Marvel, so like in many ways this was like um you know my first experience reading like a lot of this character. Like I've seen her obviously in the Avengers books. There was another run before this, Kelly Sue DeConnick's run on this character, which was like a lot of people seem to really enjoy. I tried reading that. I didn't enjoy it all that much. I didn't really get it. Like I didn't understand what the hype was around that after reading a bit of it. So yeah, I like Kelly Thompson as a writer. I think she's got a good voice for a lot of characters. I really enjoyed the cast of characters in this book. All of her friends, her like kind of close friend group. Hazmat was interesting to see where she kind of ended up by the end of this, and it looks like she's still got some long way to go there. And that's the thing. I don't feel like they really resolved anything with her in this chapter of her life, and kind of like this kind of issue is kind of like, yeah, life goes on, and she's still working on herself, and as you mentioned, yeah, it's there wasn't much else to say here. I feel like at the end of this issue, but that's all right. And I don't think she changed the character in any way for the next writer. Like you said, that next miniseries that they're going to do could really just be the next chapter, and it could have been the next issue of this issue 51, but instead I guess they're going to relaunch it with a new number 1 and everything else. But yeah, that all being said though, I do think most of this 50 issue run, I mean, it's cool to see that she got 50 issues, because that's not hard. That is very hard to do nowadays, I think, on a lot of these superhero titles. So the fact that Kelly Thompson was on the book for this long, like I'm sure it had its fans. I was, as like as I mentioned, I was one of them. So I think there's a lot to be said about that. This issue on its own, though, I gotta agree with Chris and also give it a 3.5. It was fine, but I don't think like as a final issue, if this is her final say on the character, I don't think there was much else that she really had to say. Let's say,
Yeah.
right? So, all right. Next up, we got Black Panther #1, the launch of another new Black Panther ongoing series here. Oh, nice cover. Let's take a look at that one.
Yeah, basically, it's the only reason I bought this. It's a nice little kind of fancy cover here with, I guess, a Black Panther image, made up by other Black Panther images.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've seen that done for some other titles, so I always thought that's cool, so I picked that up. Hey, get a little jumping on point to see what's going on with Black Panther. I haven't really followed him much. And, this here, another one, basically this whole issue, he's trying to figure out who he is. He's running around in Wakanda. I thought the background art I felt was very detailed, because the city that he's in Wakanda is almost like it's like he's in Tokyo or something, or like some cyberpunk world. I thought there was just a lot of stuff going on, and just like the bright lights and the neon and all that. But where Black Panther's involved, he's almost kind of taking like a daredevil sort of position in this town. He's just trying to kind of fight out of the shadows just to remind people that there's still good in Wakanda. I didn't know Wakanda was in this midst of upheaval. And, every time I think of Wakanda, it's always think of, it's always it's like the Serengeti out there where they're all just running around in fields. So
Right.
This was a bit of a departure for what I feel Wakanda's usually all about. And, here I think he reveals himself to some lawyer that's getting hassled by whoever. This might be a new character that's revealed. I don't know about that either. Like I said, I don't have much history with Black Panther. It just seems to go over all the good stuff that he's done that I might have been more interested in rather than what's happening here. So I didn't think this was a great issue.
I read this one as well, just because I knew that you were going to be checking it out because you picked up this issue. And yeah, I didn't love it either. The ending was cool here. The reveal of Deathlock, always an interesting thing, because I think when you throw Deathlock in the mix, it could spice things up for him moving forward. But that being said, I think that's why I have a hard time. continuing on books of Black Panther because I find them sometimes to be very boring. And this was kind of a bit of that. This first issue, like this first issue did not get me invested at all in actually continuing with this series. I felt like other than that hook at the end with the Deathlock thing, it really just once again summed up his.
That was too late too.
Right. That's what I mean. It really just kind of summed up his current relationship with Wakanda, which I guess he's no longer King of Wakanda at the moment. And like, he's also like, an outcast of sorts. Like, I guess he,
I think he's in exile, but he's still running around there.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't. It seems that they're always very heavy on the political stuff now in Black Panther and the history of Wakanda and everything. And that listen, there's some good stuff there. I can understand that, but like for me, it's hard for me to latch on to the character because like I feel like whenever I kind of dip my toe in, that's kind of like what's going on most of the time. And like if you're not really up to date with his relationship with Wakanda, what's happening there, it's hard to kind of, and like I think it's been a while. I don't know if it's because of his influence by the movies. Like I think that's the interesting part about the character is his relationship with Wakanda and that you can do all this political stuff and everything else. But like it's been a long good while, I feel like, since we've seen Black Panther just being a superhero, you know what I mean? So like I kind of I don't know if that's because of the films. I don't know. Like it's hard to tell like where, their direction that they want to go with the character these days. And lately it seems like he's just continues to fall out of favor with them. And with that being said, like he's on the new Avengers book. He was on the last Avengers book. Like he's in the Avengers still, but yet he seems like in this book, he's kind of like, it seems like has remorse about letting everybody down around him, essentially. Like that's kind of like his whole like cross the bear in this. It's like, oh, I let my people down, I let the Avengers down, these guys down. I'm like, okay, I don't need to read that. I mean, I'm like, all right, man, go punch somebody in the face already, man. Sorry to say, no, this wasn't for me either. I don't think I'll be sticking with it, but
I want to like it, but I just don't.
Yeah, I liked it. That's the thing. There is a lot of interesting aspects to the Black Panther, and I have read good runs of Black Panther. I own some Black Panther books on the bookshelf here. It's just like the last couple of iterations of it just haven't really got me all that interested, which is a shame because I feel like the character has been more popular than he's ever been as a result of the films, but yet there's nothing really interesting to me about the comics, right? So yeah. Anyways, what did you give this out of 5?
Give it a 3.25.
Yeah, you're right. We're on the same page here today. Yeah, I'm like, I give it a 3.25 as well. And probably an extra bump is, I think, on some of the artwork personally, or else I would have maybe given it even.
Yeah.
Right. So, but there was some nice pages in here, I thought, like the art. So, all right. Next up, Chris, Extreme Venomverse number 3.
Extreme Venomverse number 3. So I kind of just got this. I don't know. I'd say basically only wanted Extreme Venomverse number 2, but they gave me number 1 and number 3 was there, so they added it in there. And they're okay stories of whatever these kind of wacky venoms that they find out. There's good twists and turns to them, but they seem to be going the well one too often with the like in the Spider-Verse, with Madam Web trying to get all the Spider-Men together to fight something coming on. You saw that in Avengers Beyond, where they're trying to get all the different versions of the Avengers together to fight one of those Masters of Evil. And here, I think you have somebody, pretty much going around picking up all these venoms to fight Carnage. So it just seems to be the story kind of is all like the story that's tying together is all old hat, and it's been done before and before again. But as for the venoms that they describe in here, there's not too bad. This one was I don't know, this was a blood fang or something. They kind of give you a little twist there. Like the Dylan, it's a girl in its name, but they don't kind of reference that kind of right off the bat. But there's a girl there, and then that turns out to be the Venom, and she's kind of an outcast by her people, even though she saved them. And then whatever, I think what's whoever the Venom is that's trying to gather him while he shows up at the end. Oh, come with me, don't worry, we got to fight for you. I think there's a Flash Thompson Venom that was pretty decent, and was it a Space Knight Venom? Yeah. It's all they're all decent stories. If they're just stories on their own, I think they would just do much better than trying to tie them all together for this whatever Death of the Venomverse that's coming up.
Is that the Summer of the Symbiotes? Is that part of it? Is this
I
part?
think this might be something else than the Summer of the Symbiotes,
Okay.
unless it's somehow tied in. But
Okay.
I don't know. It seems like Carnage is raising hell all over the place.
I mean, we got the recent super popularity of between Venom and Carnage lately. We have all that to we owe all that to I think how popular the Donny Cates Ryan Stegman run really was on this character, right? Like because like it seems like
Yeah.
aftermath of that book, it's constantly symbiote books every fucking month. We get like it seems like half the catalog is symbiote books right now, and like the fact
Yeah.
that this
I
is
don't even know if those stories are worth all this.
yeah.
Just kind of fluff they're putting out there now.
Yeah.
Well, I'm buying it. So what the hell can I say?
So what'd you give this out of 5 then?
I got a 3.5. It was okay. Nothing great.
Okay. Well, okay. So first up here, guys, my apologies. I read a few more books than Chris these days, so you're gonna have to hear me ramble on a little bit more than usual, it seems like. So Void Rivals #1. This was actually a last minute pickup for me. I didn't pre-order this book, but when I heard the news that they just released this week, and I guess we can talk about it here instead of later on, the Image just confirmed. IDW lost the licensing rights to print GI Joe and Transformers comics at the end of last year, and we were kind of wondering for a while now, like who was going to actually take over the licensing rights of this. And then recently, a couple weeks ago, Marvel just announced that they've got the rights back to ROM and Micronauts, and those are two series based on toys. Hey, those comics are apparently good. I'll be picking them up. They're bringing out omnibuses collecting that series next year. And those are, I guess, like toy lines that they based comics on back in the day through Marvel that I guess are very popular at the time. And so they have the license for that to start making reproducing either comics or just like old collections of it. So they announced the omnibus collections of that stuff recently. So then there was rumors, because they were also owned, I think, by Hasbro at one point, if they were also going to get the license for GI Joe and Transformers. Now GI Joe and Transformers also used to be Marvel Comics back in the day, right? I mean, the long line of Transformers and GI Joe comics were done, for into the late 90s probably, and then it kind of bounced around publishers for a bit there. But now they just announced Image's Skybound imprint, which is Robert Kirkman's imprint. That Image has now bought the license to these, and Robert Kirkman will be coming out with through Skybound. And different writers and artists are going to be coming out with Transformers books, GI Joe books, as well as his newest book that came out this week. It was revealed upon release date. And Kirkman always likes to pull some sneaky shit like this. So I got to, tip my cap to him a little bit on this one, because this is a pretty cool idea. This book takes place in the newly established universe that he set up called the Energon universe, which I guess is going to be the universe that's going to be containing GI Joe and Transformers. And these characters on the cover here, that's kind of split down the middle, 2 different alien species that were introduced in the pages of this first issue, are people that exist in this world. So it's kind of a way he said that he's going to be able to play in the sandbox of those properties, and at the same time tell a story about other types of people in that world that takes place. So kind of a very cool way of kind of doing a new like sci-fi type book, but also saying, hey, this takes place in the new G.I. Joe Transformers universe we're going to set up. And Transformers #1, I'm very excited for. They just announced Daniel Warren Johnson, who I was a big fan of. I talked about his book, Do a Power Bomb, last year that came out through Image. He's going to be writing and drawing his own Transformers.
Drawing too.
Yeah. So I'm fucking on board for that. And I'm not the hugest Transformers guy, because when they were very popular, I was just born at that time. So I kind of missed the start of the, I was more Ninja Turtles and like, that kind of stuff that came afterwards. But Transformers and G.I. Joe, I kind of just missed. I was on the cusp of their popularity, right? So I've never been a huge, I've seen the films, obviously, but never been a huge fan of those properties. But this got me interested, guys. So the book Void Rivals, though, starts off with this guy, I guess, who crash landed on a planet. He comes out of his ship. He barely survived, and then his ship is in disrepair, and he can't repair. He doesn't have enough, supplies or things to fix it. And then he comes across this other person, like across from him here, that's also stranded on this planet because of their ship getting crashed down. And I guess maybe it was a result of them fighting in the air. I'm not sure. But basically, these two people are enemies, basically, these two alien races. Like, they are sworn enemies of one another. Hence, I guess, the rivals of the Void Rivals thing. And, so he goes to attack this person. After a while, like, he sees, this is pointless. I'm going to die here unless we do something, after like a bit of a struggle that they have. And he talks to them, and he's like, okay, well, listen, he talks to his computer, navigator helper like thing that's there, his bot. And it kind of says, yeah, well, this person has enough stuff on their ship that you can possibly repair a ship, and both of you can get out of here, essentially. He's like, okay, listen, let's call a truce here. I don't want to die on this planet. You don't want to die on this planet. Like, I know we're supposed to be sworn enemies, but like, let's just get the fuck out of here and then like never speak of this again, type of thing, right? And amongst the like, while they're on the planet looking amongst their wreckages and trying to fix their ship, they're unable to do so. Like, they try to fix it, it doesn't work. They come across another ship, and they jump started back to life. And wouldn't you know it, it turns out to be an old Transformer that's like kind of guess.
No way.
Yeah, it shows up in this issue. So like, what a fucking cool way to introduce this like line of books that's going to be happening. Like, again, and these licensed comics have been out for years, guys. I've never really had the interest to maybe check these things out. But the fact that Image now is doing it, you got Robert Kirkman involved, you got Daniel Warren Johnson doing a book, you got Joshua Williamson doing a couple of G.I. Joe books. It's under Image, and it's kind of part of like a new world and stuff that they're doing. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm on board after this intro to this in this issue. I'm like, yeah, why not? I'll give it a few issues, these series. And I was originally just going to pick this up in trade. I was going to read it on, digitally. But I ran out and picked up this first issue when I heard about this spoiler on the day of that it came out. I was like, oh, I gotta check this out. And I didn't know that Transformer was actually in it. I just heard that it was going to be part of the same world. But the fact that a Transformer shows up, what does he say his name is here? Hold on. It's really cool though. Like, when he kind of arose and like shot off into space, he says, Jetfire. That's this Transformer right here. So like, I'm sure you big Transformers fans out there, I'm sure maybe like you might know of this guy if he's an.
I think I have Jetfire.
There you fucking go.
It's almost like a Gundam sort of
yeah,
Transformer type.
Yeah. Like a Jetfire, Chris. You got to check this out, man. And then he kind of looks up in the sky and he's like, oh, what happened? And he's like, Cybertron, after all these years, I'm sorry, I have to get home. And he just shoots off.
And takes off.
Yeah. So he's sitting there chatting with them. He's like, what's going on? Like, what am I doing here? They're like, who are you? And he's like, he explains who he is. And then he's like, he just looks up and he's like, that last panel here in this page, he's like, Cybertron, I have to go home. And the guy just fucking blasts off. They're like, no, wait. Fucking whoosh. And he bounces and leaves them. And then they're like, fuck, what the hell are we going to do now? Right. And then they end up both taking off their helmets at one point at the end here. And you find out they look to be, even though they're sworn enemies of each other, somehow, maybe growing up in different sectors, looks like the same species to me. So that's the big kind of reveal at the end of this issue. They're like, so I guess we'll learn more. This is kind of how they left us off at the end here. But they say they're two different alien species here, I think, that he mentions. I forgot. Yeah, so he says the Secret's Out takes place in the new Energon universe. It's a shared universe that will include an assortment of our upcoming Transformers and G.I. Joe comics from Skybound. And yeah, so he basically says they're just scratching the surface right now of kind of playing in the same sandbox. And he said, Zertonians and Agorians are these aliens right here. He says he's excited. They're being mentioned alongside Cybertronians and Quintessence. And I can't wait for you all to see Duke, Scarlet, Cobra Commander, and Destro weave their way into this world. So like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they say they're two different species, but they look very much alike. So I guess now, because they've been sworn never to take off their helmets in front of each other, it's kind of like a Mandalorian thing or something. And yeah, at the end here, they show you the Energon universe has arrived, and it basically lets you know about the upcoming releases. So now I've added this to my pull list. I got to track down issue 2 because I didn't pre-order that one, but I'm on board, man. This got me super interested in this. And this is a piece of artwork here of Daniel Warren Johnson drawing the cover for the book he's going to be writing and drawing Got some, yeah, awesome, man. I can't fucking wait. I'm on board, Chris. I got to tell you. So this is a good start. I thought this is I give this a 4 out of 5, a solid start, something that's taking place in the universe, but kind of cool because it's kind of an aside to that stuff. Like it is in the same universe, but it doesn't feel like it like at this point in time. But the fact that you've seen a Transformer already in the first issue, I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like I'm on board, man. So I'm excited for this news now. You know, I'm probably gonna add all the issues to my pull list of the new series come out, just kind of give them each a try and see where it goes from there, right? So I'm interested to see this now that it's under Image's hands to see what they do with it. So yeah, very cool. Next up, you got Clobbering Time number 4. This was the best issue of the miniseries so far, of course, because Dr. Doom is the guy that's in this issue. Also, this is the first issue where I feel like the bad guy that they've been chasing down this whole time, they really don't encounter until the last page of this. And it was all like this really fun setup of a story with him and Dr. Doom. They're both kind of stuck in like this abyss, essentially, as you can see here. He's kind of, you got the Watcher guy who's kind of like in prison somewhere, and then you see Ben Grimm kind of like bungee cording almost into like nothingness, and he's attached to this ship essentially and mining for like food and other resources out in space. And they're kind of in this weird void now as a result of Dr. Doom and the Thing both kind of getting involved with this villain that they've been trying to Thing's been trying to track down, that's been collecting stuff all around the Marvel universe to get stronger and stronger and take out all the heroes, right? So Dr. Doom was outsmarted by him. And, you know, Dr. Doom, obviously not one to enjoy being outsmarted by anyone, kind of, you know, is talking with Ben Grimm here, and they try to coming up with a plan to kind of get back at this guy as they're in this ship in this like this nothingness realm or whatever they fell into, this void. And yeah, it's just a fun issue where you see him scavenging for stuff, talking to Doom. You get some awesome Doom dialogue of him diatribing about like, you know, his plans to take this guy down, and he writes a great Doom, and you know, a great looking tech. The art is fantastic in this issue. And there's a whole gag in this issue about how like he's out there trying to like scavenge for like weird like space creatures and shit for them to eat or whatever is outside of the ship. And the Thing says to Dr. Doom, like, how come you can't like science me up a hamburger? Like, how is that so complicated? And the whole time he's like, no, I can't do it. It's like totally different than what I'm like, because he's making all these other inventions to get back at this guy. And he's like, well, how come you can't do this? He's like, I'm sorry, that can't be done. And then like as he's like leaving at the end with Dr. Doom, he looks over and he sees like a burger that's like with a bite out of it and fries. He's that son of a bitch. Like, this guy like pretty much like just lied to him, and he seemed like he was just hogging these burgers to himself. So yeah, and then he just freaks out. You know, it's Clobbering Time. He destroys a bunch of like robots and other things in this issue, and they find you the Watcher here who's been imprisoned by the guy. He goes into this crazy story about how he ripped open his skull and stole all this like all his intellect and stuff like that in order to kind of get smarter and stronger, and how he's been collecting all these different artifacts, and he's from the future, a future where all the heroes, I guess, like had let them down, so he's trying to get back at all them. And yeah, he shows up here at the end, and he's ready to throw down in this final issue coming up next. Great issue, best issue of the miniseries. 4.5 out of 5, I would say. Yeah, really, really solid. Great art, good story. And then next up, I got Doctor Strange number 4 right here. This is another solid issue. Another great issue from Jed McKay. I'm really starting to like this Doctor Strange series now. I mean, we liked Death of Doctor Strange, and we read the Clea Strange book, which was good. But I don't know, this is quickly becoming my favorite. This issue kind of focused on Wong, as he's part of that wand, like shield for magic people, essentially. And in this, there's a lot of union stuff going on in books these days. I don't know what that says about our society, but in this issue, they come across all these like, I don't know, demons that are like basically forcing these ghosts, like spirits, to like work for them on some sort of railroads. I don't know what's going on. And there's some union talk that goes on in this. And she's like, the wand woman shows up, and she's like looking through a contract, and she's like talking to the spirits saying like, oh yeah, you guys don't have to do any of this. I don't know how you got worked into this job. And then all of a sudden, like this like big ghost guy shows up. That's like, I don't know, some sort of like ghost official of some sort. Oh yeah, he says he yells out collective action, and this dude shows up. I don't know, A lot of union talk going on in comics these days. So I don't know. I really enjoyed that. And then at the end of all this, after they've solved this issue, Ghost Rider rolls up and he's like, "Oh yeah, I could feel some, some stuff going on these ways. Like time for some vengeance." They're like, "All right, bud, get out of here. You already took care of this. Right? Too late." It was funny, man. Like, Ghost Rider just rolled up a little too late. He's ready to fucking, crack some heads. And they're like, Juan's like, "Don't worry, we got this." Like, right. Like, go, like, move along, right? And then the rest of the issue, they're kind of, again, like just doing like weird, like, I don't know, magical, supernatural type, missions. And along the way, they start finding out that they're connecting the dots about how all these magical people have been getting killed lately. And it's like all these people that are normally like bad people, but they're like, yeah, it's disrupting the order of things essentially. So at the end of the issue, they kind of link back in with the ongoing story and the Doctor Strange side of stuff in this series of. Is Clea the murderer or not? And not Wong, but his associate in Wand believes that she is, right? This scene was cool too. They came across these like Asian vampire people, and at one point they're laughing at his other Wand associates because I guess they've tangled with them before, and they're like calling them, they think they're not great. And he's like, "Yeah, who are you?" So this is some new recruit, and he's like, "What's your name?" He's like, "Wong," and the guy's like, "Oh shit." Like Wong. He's like, "Holy fuck. All right, you guys are moving up in the world." He's like, "All right, we're gonna stop what we're doing here." Like, it's just funny. Like, he's like, "Oh fuck, Wong." He's like, "You're working for Wong now, right?" So I like that. His reputation precedes him, right? So I kind of dug that. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much the issue. I gave it a 4. It was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to this demonic wedding next issue that they teased in the last one for Clea's mother. All right, Chris. Next up, Battle Chasers number 10. The return of Battle Chasers, which I swear I think came out like 20 years ago, the 9th issue by Joe Madureira, who's only writing this series. He's not drawing this one. And I feel like that's the reason why we waited fucking like 20 years for this to come back out. Yet he's not even drawing it. Kind of a letdown. But what'd you think of this, Chris?
Yeah, I only kind of read this. I had a lot of hype about some of the covers there, so I wanted to see what it's all about. And I was thinking maybe about buying this if I liked what I read inside there, and I don't think I liked what I read inside there.
No.
There's a bunch of stories, if they kind of stuck to one story, especially something, that's coming back after so long, maybe it might have pulled in some new people like me, but I don't know, after a bunch of it, I just was lost, and I go, okay, this, I just tried to leaf through it to see if anything pulls together, pulls me back in, and it didn't.
Did you read this back in the day?
No.
So I picked up the trade that you can still get. It came out like a couple years ago. They reprinted a trade of it through Image. And the main reason to pick up this series, if you were not a fan of it, even back in the day, is like the Joe Mad art. He's got a really great style of art, and he kind of left comics to go work on animation and video games and stuff like that. Stuff I guess that pays much better. And for years and years and years, he said he was going to come back and continue this series because it ended on issue 9. Now, I haven't read that trade in a couple of years. So not only was I lost with this, but this didn't hook me. I feel like it almost felt like a direct continuation of where they left off, which I don't think is a good thing, since I swear, like I said, the last thing came out like 20 years ago or something like that. It's more than 10 years for sure. And yeah, it wasn't very good. And Joe Mad's not on art, so I have no reason to continue this. I agree with pretty much what Chris said about this. So I'm out. But there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of hype around this. But would I even pick up the other trade? No, I'll probably just keep this with the first one on my shelf. And if this gets collected, I without Joe Mad on art, which to me is the big draw about this, yeah, unless you're like a hardcore Battle Chasers fan, which I wasn't. I didn't read this back in the day. I don't think there's any point in checking this out, quite frankly. Like, it's almost like they're just kind of trying to appease the fans of this book and trying to be like, okay, finally, here you go. Shut up. I got another.
Yeah, we're gonna finish the story for you, but
yeah, I think so. But I don't know who, like, other than those people, I don't know who was really asking for this to come back. And I think it's from what I understand, a lot of fans were upset because he wasn't drawing it. Because that's the reason he kind of said it's taking so long to come out, and then the fucking guy isn't even drawing it. So like, what happened there, right? He's just like, I'll just pay somebody else to do it. So, anyways, what'd you give this?
Yeah, +3, whatever.
Yeah,
like
3 out of 5. All right, next up, the Giant Cockshoe number 3, Chris, the final issue. What'd you think of this?
Now this is a crazy comic.
You want to let us know what happened in this one, Chris?
I don't know if you could even explain what happens this one. A lot of drama there, you know. You have those that is it Vindicator 5.
Yeah.
So he's out there to fight Godzilla or whatever they call this, the giant cockchew there. And he gets his ass handed to him, and I guess he penetrates the field there at one point. Thought that was a classic line there. And just what goes on in there and how he ends up defeating him, that's something you might have to read on your own. And then the fallout from his actions, just spells trouble for the city.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, yeah. I'll fill them in, Chris, if you're afraid to get into it. He puts some like robot kind of like I don't know, appendage of some sort on this guy, like some sort of tube of some sort, and it essentially jerks off this fucking guy, like monster to completion. Like, and like he isn't even aware what happens. Like when he comes out of the actual like mech suit afterwards, like his wife's like, how the fuck did you do that? Like, how'd you think of that? He's like, I did what now? Like, but yeah, he when he shot off his load there, he like got the thing to calm down, and like you said, it left a lot of destruction in its wake. But unfortunately for them, in the aftermath of all this, with this mess all over the place, 3 more fucking giant kaiju came out of the ground, all with crazy fucking heart. I don't know. And then they teased that there might be another mini series called like, I don't know, like Ginormous Cockshoe or something. What do they call it? It was like, yeah, the Ginormous Cockshoe. I don't know if like that was just like the last like page that he put that on, but then you had like the prologue after that. So I'm like, are they actually going to do another fucking miniseries of this? So I don't know, man, but the way they ended it, who knows? And then they drew in Jerry Duggan and the artist, because I know what Jerry Duggan looks like. The artist drew them in at the end, cleaning up all the mess in the city. So that was pretty funny. So I don't know, man. That's, like I said, like really fucking out there. And if you could take a joke, though, I think it's good fun. And I liked every issue more and more. The fact that he just like threw some like thing on it, whacked this kaiju off at the end, though, to kind of
once the deed was done, I feel great. I'm out of here.
He's got a huge smile on his face. He's like, all right, just gonna go back into the water.
His buddies off. You won't believe the sweet sex robot they got up on the land. It was on the road. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Coming out of the water.
3 of them are up there. They got them there on everything's like, they're all like horned up. Like, what's going on here? Oh my God. What a fucking crazy book. Yeah, apparently, for context, this came out during the pandemic. They put this out over their I guess in the early days of the pandemic, when like they stopped comics for a few months, they weren't putting out any new stuff, and I guess they put this out on their Substack originally. I guess Jerry Duggan has one, and I think that's how they released this thing. And him and Scott Koblish have worked on a lot of comics together, so this is like some little fun side project thing. But I gotta say, like, the way it ended, like if they do another one, and that's what this kind of thing was teasing, this Ginormous Cockshoe. If they do another mini series that's like 3 issues, I'd probably check it out again. Because it was kind of funny, man. I at first I'm like, this is so stupid, and then the second issue came out, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's some funny stuff here. And then when this one came out, I'm like, this is fucking hilarious. Yeah. So what'd you give this one, man?
4.25. That was a great read. I loved it.
Yeah, I gotta agree. 4.25 out of 5. Absolutely. I didn't think I'd be saying that about a book called Giant Cockshoe, but here we are. All right. Next up, we got Wolverine 34. This is a really good issue. I liked this, and I gotta say, though, the main attraction about this issue in particular is there's one scene, which I'm going to show you here in a moment, that's worth the price of admission, I think, of this issue. But where we left off, him and Maverick here are still getting kind of hunted down by Beast. He has like a bunch of planes going, and missiles are being launched at him. Actually, that's not Beast. This is the other people, I don't know what they are, FBI or something, whatever his buddy, the guy that he knew earlier in the series is working for, they go after him, I guess the mutants, thinking that these guys are part of it, and they get bombed on. And then what ends up happening is Wolverine is on like a transmission, like a walkie-talkie up to him, and they find out that they're both on the same side, and Wolverine's like, no, we're also going after the Beast and what's going on out here. You just kind of caught us on the way to deal with them. So they make a truce. And but then essentially his friend gets like sucked into like, I don't know, like a hole in the water, and Beast captures him. So then he forces Wolverine to come meet him for dinner so they can kind of talk it out. So like he goes to like meet with Beast in his lair essentially. And then he brings out like this whole like seafood assortment. Actually, it's not even at their lair. I think they're at a restaurant somewhere, because he's like, oh yeah, this place is the best. And he brings out this whole seafood assortment. And then like he proceeds to like talk to Wolverine for like the next few pages while you see him eating, like ripping apart the lobster and other seafood, like disgustingly. Like, and Wolverine's just sitting there just listening to him, and he's like gobbling and like sucking all the juices out of the lobster. Watch, like you just see him just mowing down on this fucking thing while he's like chatting to him about like, hey, listen, like, you know, I'm not evil, and sometimes you just got to do these type of things. And he's like trying to like reason with him, right? And he's not getting through to him. And Wolverine's like, no, this ain't like you, man. And, you know, which feeds into the theory everyone thinks this is Dark Beast, I think, in the comics community. And he's like, no, this is exactly like me, actually. Yeah, you obviously don't know me all too well then. And he's trying to like reason with him and justify what he's been up to lately, right? So, yeah, and by the end of it, he brings all his Wolverine clones out there, and he's got his buddy in tow, and he basically says, this looks like it's coming to the final showdown between the Beast and Wolverine here. So it was a good solid issue. Art's being good on this arc. I'll give this a 4.2 just for that disgusting kind of him eating all the seafood scene, which is pretty fun. Then you got Rogue and Gambit number 3. Not much to say here. This was a pretty boring issue. And as Chris mentioned, even though we love the artists on this book, the story that's being told here hasn't really gave her as much of an opportunity to have fun with the art in the book, for that matter, like the Exterminator series we've seen this artist on originally. And you find out the bad guy is the power broker who kind of sets up these type of situations and steals mutants' powers and all that. That's kind of like the reveal of him, like after having trouble finding out who's been doing all this the last couple of issues. And yeah, this story is very basic. It's not all that interesting. The art was the only draw for me. And that's not even as fun, I think, in this series compared to the last one the artist drew. So, you know, and it's got Gambit in it. So, so there's not much to like here. I gave this a 3 out of 5, and that's being generous again, because I do like the artist, but I don't think there's much for him to do here. There's a couple of cool looking scenes, but otherwise it's, you know, this isn't Exterminators where I fell in love with this artist's work on the first time around. Right. So, yeah. One more issue to go. I'll probably just finish it for the sake of it, but I won't be picking up this in trade. I've been reading this digitally, and not worth checking out, in my opinion. Speaking of something that's not worth checking out, we got Captain America Cold War Omega number 1. This is again a crappy end to a so-so event, I would say. And there is some inconsistent art in this one. I think you had a couple different people drawing on this one too, because it's an oversized issue. But I don't know who this one artist is, but I'm not a fan of them. There in that top panel there's like a weird like panel on this page there where they all look super chunky as fuck. I don't know why they all look like fat there. Like it's like he tried to, I think, make them look jacked, but instead he made them like all look like just fatzos, and weird angle and like some weird kind of like layouts in this book. I don't know, man. I wasn't digging the art, and it really was, and the ending was convoluted. This series just really shit the bed for me at the end. And now I've got the second fucking trade of this person's run on the way, because I've already pre-ordered the thing after loving the first one. And this is how the fucking series ends. I'm really disappointed. Yeah, he just throws everything these guys just throw everything at the wall at the end of this event. A bunch of shit happens, which I'm not going to get into here, guys. I won't spoil it for you, but it wasn't that great. He takes out this wolf guy. You know, they beat the guys in Dimension Z, and everything's kind of back to the way it is almost at the end of this issue. Let's just say that. And, you know, it's as far as events go, it's kind of usually the case. A couple of good pages in here, but otherwise, yeah. Fucking overwritten. Look at this page. Look at how much dialogue is in this. Yeah, no, it's yeah. There you go. You see them both fucking in their stances there at the end. Next, Captain America 750. Yeah, thanks. I gave this a 2.75 because I think it did not stick the landing to an already mediocre event, and the art was also bad. So I got to go below the 3 mark there, which I don't. We save that for the ones we truly really did not enjoy. But yeah, this is not a good one, guys. All right, Chris, let's finish it off with Amazing Spider-Man number 27. Got our issue right here. What did you think of this?
I'll get some fallout, I guess, what happened in 26. I'm not a big fan of these sentient Doc Ock arms there. I thought it was fun in that, was it Spider-Man 600 or 700 or whatever, when it was kind of just a little side story here. But now it's like part of the main arc or main point of this next arc. I think that might be a little bit too much. I thought the art was great in here, though. Got some nice Black Cat stuff going on. A nice fight at the beginning. I'm surprised that they didn't have any Mary Jane in there. I guess they're saving that for another time. But we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I wish Ed McGuinness could draw faster, because whenever he jumps on the book for a couple of issues, he did come on that he was the artist on that oversized issue where that first was established. He was the artist on some of the Dark Web stuff. Whenever he shows up, I really enjoy him on this book. I just wish he could be the regular artist on it all the time, because I really like Ed McGuinness's work. I love how he drew Doc Ock in this. I like how short he was, like, you know what I mean? Like he really showed like a good view of like his stature, like, and how like, like how tall he actually is. He's kind of shrimpy looking here. I really dig that. Because I don't feel like you get many people that show him like that anymore. And so I agree with you. I can't say I'm loving everything about the story right now. I like the Black Cat stuff. I guess they're throwing in the events of what happened in the Gold Goblin miniseries with this Goblin Queen shit or whatever. Yeah. I don't much care for that stuff either. I'm interested to see where they go with this Doc Ock stuff, because I do love Doc Ock as a character. But yeah, it is weird. Like at the end, how like the arms now of like, it's like breaking up with Doc Ock, and he kind of fucks up the arms, and he comes running he comes to get aid from J. Jonah Jameson at the end, which is it's pretty out there. It's kind of an idea. It's kind of weird, right? But I don't know. I think that's kind of the only thing I'm really enjoying about this is the possibilities of where this could go, this whole kind of thing going on with that. But the other stuff, take it or leave it, I feel like. I mean, the Black Cat stuff's good, but they're not going to let that develop, further, I think, than where it's at right now, because, he's always out saving people. So it's going to really, Black Cat kind of help, you might see some Black Cat stuff here and there, her teaming up with him and everything else, but it's going to be more focused, I think, on the villains again now and that kind of stuff. So I'm okay with that. What'd you give this out of 5?
Yeah, I give it 3.5.
I'll give it a 3.75 for the Ed McGuinness art. Yeah, but the story was just okay in this. I agree with you there. So, all right, well, that's going to do it for the books that we read this week, guys. Let's talk about what we're planning on reading next week.
Okay, well, I got my list here. Looking forward to Avengers 2. There's the Hulk 1, Ultimate Invasion 1, Venom 21. I think there's Catwoman 56, Nightwing 105, Wonder Woman 800, and maybe Teen Titans 2, and maybe a bunch of stuff that I might read online there as well. See what's happening.
Yeah, okay. I got my list coming up here. Just 1 second. But yeah, bigger week than this week, next week. I'm picking up physically the physical releases of Batman, Superman, World's Finest, Batman White Knight Generation Joker #2, Superman World's Finest #16, Nightwing 105, Titans 2, Arcade Kings 2. I really like the first issue of that. Avengers 2. Let's see where that goes. Kea #9, always a good time. And yeah, Ultimate Invasion #1 of 4 from Jonathan Hickman. Really looking forward to that. And yeah, I'm going to read some things online digitally probably as well too. Let's just take a quick look here. What else is coming out? So is that Wonder Woman is the last issue of this current run that comes out next week, you're saying? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I'll check that out. That might be good. But yeah, just taking a quick look here to see if there's anything else. This Catwoman book isn't with the crossover yet, is it?
No, I think it's this just has the swimsuit cover, so that's pretty
Okay.
much the only reason I'm grabbing this one.
I might read Superman 5 digitally next week. Yeah, I might check out the Wonder Woman. And let me see anything from Image here that I'm checking out. The new Bone Orchard book, I might check out the new Jeff Lemire one, or I might just trade weight it now. We'll see about that. Yeah, nothing else really there. And then for Marvel, in terms of digital releases, yeah, it might not be much here. You got a lot of the Spider-Verse and Venom stuff continuing over there. Guardians, I dropped now. Hallows Eve 4, I might read that. I didn't see it solicited. Did you see Hulk for next week?
I thought I did. Maybe I'm wrong then.
Okay, I think Hulk. I have Hulk here coming out next week, so I didn't hear if you did it or not. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm checking that out. I don't think I pre-ordered the issue, but I'm definitely gonna check that out. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, but that might be about it though. But yeah, some big releases coming out next week, so I'm looking forward to those. But yeah. That being said, what is your favorite book of the week, Chris? I think I have a guess here what yours is going to be. I'm quite surprised.
I can't believe it either, but Vindicator 5 and the Giant Cockatoo.
Number 3, yeah. Listen, this is my runner-up, but this week I hands down had no doubt in my mind I have to give it a clobbering time number 4, which is a long time coming. I've been enjoying this miniseries, but I think this is the first time I gave it my favorite of the week. This is just, the sweet spot of The Thing and Dr. Doom. I had to give it up to this one, but this was right next to it though. Honestly, on like a small week like this, I guess a week of books in comparison, maybe to some, like last week, which was a huge week. And I think was really, really fucking strong. This was like, middle of the road, some of this stuff, but yeah, I would have to say Giant Cockshoe is definitely the runner up. And this, it's something that is interesting to check out, guys. I mean, there's not enough here to say like, oh, this is the best thing that's come out this week. But it might be a promise.
No, it could be something.
Exactly. More great things to come. So yeah, definitely check that out. That's really cool and really surprised that happened in this book of the Transformers. So, and the news was all out and about today, and I was glad I was able to snag a copy because I wasn't going to check this out. But then once I heard about this, I was like, yeah, you know what? I might as well check this out. So. All right. I think that's going to do it for today then, guys. Chris, thank you as always. Always a good time talking comics with you. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, everyone. Later.